First contact's price. The quantum sensors aboard the ECS Vigilant screamed to life, as reality itself seemed to tear open before them. Captain Sarah Chen watched in horror as the void bloomed with hundreds of crystalline ships, their surfaces refracting starlight like faceted jewels. They were beautiful, alien, and absolutely lethal. Multiple signatures emerging from Fold Space, Captain. Lieutenant Rodriguez's voice cracked with tension. They're surrounding New Eden colony. Sarah's jaw clenched. Humanity's first deep space colony, home to 12 million souls, lay defenseless below them. The Vigilant was just a survey vessel. Their weapons would be like throwing rocks at a tsunami. Get me a channel to Earth Command. Priority Alpha. She kept her voice steady despite the ice in her veins. And begin civilian evacuation protocols. The response from Earth came faster than she expected, but the news wasn't good. Similar attacks were happening across human space. Titan Base, Mars Colony, the Luna shipyards. This wasn't first contact. It was a coordinated strike. Through the bridge viewport, Sarah watched as the alien vessels moved with impossible grace, their crystalline forms shifting and flowing like liquid glass. They hadn't fired yet, but their message was clear. They had humanity completely surrounded. The main view screen crackled to life, revealing a being that seemed to be made of living crystal and shadow. Its voice resonated directly in their minds, a symphony of cold precision. Children of Earth, it proclaimed, you have been chosen. Consider it an honor. For 10,000 cycles, the crystalline Concordat has tested emerging species, separating the worthy from the weak. You will be our latest hunt. Sarah's response was immediate and sharp. We are not your prey. A sound like breaking glass filled their minds. The alien's laughter. You misunderstand, little one. The hunt has already begun. Your species was selected centuries ago. We have watched you grow, guided your development through subtle manipulation. Every major technological breakthrough, every leap forward, we were there, preparing you. The revelation hit Sarah like a physical blow. Humanity's rapid technological advancement over the past century hadn't been entirely their own. They'd been bred for this moment, like animals raised for sport. The rules are simple, the crystal being continued. Survive, and you may join us as equals. Fail, and your species will be harvested, your worlds reduced to raw materials for our expansion. You have one standard rotation to prepare your defenses. Make it interesting. The transmission cut off, leaving the bridge in stunned silence. Sarah's hands gripped her command chair until her knuckles went white. They'd been manipulated, guided, prepared for slaughter. But the crystalline Concordat had made one crucial mistake. Send this to Earth Command, she ordered, her voice hard as steel. The enemy has revealed their weakness. They think they know us because they've watched us, guided us. But they don't understand what humanity truly is. We're not what they made us to be. We're what we chose to become despite their manipulation. She stood, addressing her crew directly. They'd want to hunt. Fine. But they're about to learn something about humanity that their observations couldn't teach them. When backed into a corner, we don't just fight back. We redefine the rules of engagement. As the Vigilance engines powered up, Sarah allowed herself a grim smile. The aliens had spent centuries preparing humanity as prey. They were about to learn that sometimes the prey becomes the predator. All hands, battle stations, she commanded. We may not be able to save New Eden today, but we can buy time for the evacuations, and we'll show these crystalline bastards that humanity doesn't bow to bullies, no matter how ancient or powerful they might be. The next few hours were chaos. The Vigilant, designed for deep space survey work, transformed into a rescue vessel. They didn't have the firepower to fight back directly, but they had something else: human ingenuity. Using the ship's powerful scanning arrays, they found gaps in the alien formation, blind spots in their sensor coverage. Sarah watched as her crew worked miracles, improvising solutions on the fly. They'd modified their mining lasers into point defense weapons, turned their sample collection drones into decoys, used their geological scanning equipment to find natural caverns where evacuees could hide. The crystal ships, for all their advanced technology, seemed confused by the humans' erratic behavior. They'd expected either surrender or a direct military response. Instead, they got 1,000 small acts of defiance, a complex dance of survival and resistance that didn't fit any of their predicted patterns. As the last evacuation ship slipped past the alien blockade, Sarah sent one final message to the crystalline Concordat. "You wanted to test us. Congratulations. You've just guaranteed that humanity will never stop until we shattered your entire empire. The hunt doesn't end when the prey learns to hunt back." The Vigilance engines flared as they executed a desperate maneuver, using New Eden's moon for a gravitational slingshot. Behind them, the crystal ships moved to pursue, but their formation was looser now, less confident. Sarah knew this was just the beginning. The real war would start soon. But humanity had something these ancient aliens hadn't counted on: the ability to learn, to adapt, and most importantly, to surprise even those who thought they'd engineered humanity's every move. The hunt had begun, but the hunters were about to become the hunted. The predators become prey. 3 months after first contact, the crystalline Concordat learned their first lesson about human warfare: we fight dirty. Admiral James Chen, Sarah's father, stood in Earth's Combined Defense Command Center, watching holographic displays track military movements across the solar system. The room hummed with activity as officers from every Earth nation coordinated their forces. What the aliens had intended as a divide-and-conquer strategy had instead forced humanity into unprecedented unity. "Status report on Operation Trojan," he commanded. Colonel Yuki Tanaka stepped forward, her tactical display highlighting multiple sectors. "Phase 1 complete, sir. The Concordat took our bait. They think they've discovered our primary manufacturing facilities in the asteroid belt." James nodded, his weathered face showing no emotion. The truth was far more interesting. Those facilities were decoys, built from salvaged crystal ship debris to emit the same quantum signatures as their real production centers. The actual factories were buried deep within Mercury's crust, using the planet's extreme conditions as both power source and camouflage. "They're moving their fleet to attack the asteroid belt facilities," Yuki continued. "Exactly as predicted. Their tactical algorithms are remarkably rigid." "That's what happens when you spend 10,000 years as the apex predator," James replied. "You forget how to adapt." He activated the command channel. "All units, execute Phase 2. Across the solar system, humanity's trap began to spring. The Concordat's crystal ships, arranged in their mathematically perfect formations, descended on the asteroid belt. Their sensors detected exactly what they expected: human manufacturing centers, desperately defended by outdated ships and predictable tactics. What they didn't detect was far more interesting. Deep within Mercury's churning magnetic field, Captain Sarah Chen, now commanding the experimental vessel Shadow of Earth, prepared to demonstrate humanity's response to being hunted. Her ship, along with 50 others, represented everything humanity had learned about the Concordat's technology and how to break it. "All hands," she broadcast to her crew, "remember your training. We've spent 3 months studying their patterns, their weaknesses. They think they know what humans are capable of. Let's show them how wrong they are." The Shadow of Earth and its sister ships were ugly by human standards, let alone the Concordat's aesthetic sensibilities. They looked like metal squids, their hulls covered in improvised sensor baffles and experimental weapon systems. But they had one crucial advantage: they were completely invisible to crystalline technology. "Launch sequence initiated," her XO reported. "Mercury's electromagnetic field is at peak disruption. We have our window." Sarah allowed herself a small smile. "Begin Operation Ghostmaker." 50 ships erupted from Mercury's surface, riding the planet's magnetic field like surfers on a wave. The massive electromagnetic disruption masked their approach completely. By the time the Concordat sensors detected anything amiss, humanity's strike force was already among them. The battle that followed would be studied for centuries to come. The human ships, designed specifically to exploit weaknesses in crystalline technology, struck with devastating effect. Their weapons, reverse-engineered from salvaged crystal ship debris, bypassed the aliens' supposedly impenetrable shields. Each human vessel moved independently, following no discernible pattern, making it impossible for the Concordat's predictive algorithms to track them. Multiple direct hits confirmed, Sarah's tactical officer reported with fierce satisfaction. Their formation is breaking apart. The crystal ships, beautiful in their geometric precision, found themselves unable to cope with the chaos of human combat tactics. Their commanders, used to enemies who fought according to logical patterns, were confronted with ships that seemed to ignore basic physics, using Mercury's gravity and magnetic field in ways their tactical computers classified as impossible. In the command center, James watched the battle unfold with grim satisfaction. "Send word to all human colonies," he ordered. "The hunters can bleed." The Concordat's response came swiftly. A direct transmission to Earth Command. The same crystalline entity appeared, but its confident superiority had cracked, quite literally. Fissures ran through its form as it spoke. "This is not how the hunt is conducted," it protested. "You were supposed to fight with honor, to prove yourselves worthy through direct combat." James's response was cold. "You should have studied us more carefully. Humans don't fight for honor. We fight to win. You wanted to test us. Congratulations. You've just discovered what happens when humanity decides you're a threat to our survival." The entity's form shimmered with what might have been rage. "We have conquered 1,000 species. We have perfected the art of warfare over millennia." "No," James corrected. "You perfected the art of hunting pre-selected prey. We're something else entirely. You spent centuries preparing us for your hunt, but you never ask yourselves a crucial question. What happens when the prey has been watching you back?" As if to emphasize his point, another crystal ship exploded in the tactical display. The shadow of Earth and its squadron had reduced the Concordat's fleet by nearly 30% in less than an hour. "This is your only warning," James continued. "Withdraw from human space immediately, or learn exactly how creative we can be when our survival is at stake. You wanted to test our worthiness. Fine, but we'll do it our way, not yours." The transmission cut off abruptly. In the asteroid belt, the remaining crystal ships began a rapid retreat, their perfect formations shattered, their hunter's pride broken by prey that refused to follow the rules. Sarah's voice crackled over the command channel. "Permission to pursue, sir." James considered for a moment, then smiled. "Negative, Captain. Let them run. Let them tell the rest of the Concordat what they found in this backwater solar system. Let them spread the word that humanity is not prey. We're something far more dangerous." "And what's that, sir?" "We're evolution's reply to stagnation. They spent 10,000 years perfecting their hunt. We spent 10,000 years learning to adapt. And now they get to learn which strategy works better." The battle was over, but the war was just beginning. Humanity had shown its teeth, but everyone in that command center knew the Concordat would return, wounded, angry, and hopefully just a little bit afraid. Just as planned. The art of human warfare. The crystalline Concordat's high command never expected to find themselves on the defensive. Yet here they were, 6 months into what should have been a routine hunt, watching their carefully maintained galactic order crumble in the face of human ingenuity. Deep within their crystalline fortress world of Axis Prime, Supreme Hunter Vextal's fractured form pulsed with barely contained rage as reports streamed in from across the hunting grounds. "Impossible," they hissed, their crystalline body refracting light in patterns of distress. "They're using our own fold space technology against us." "How?" The answer came in the form of another attack. On the massive holographic display dominating the chamber, a human fleet materialized inside the defensive perimeter of yet another Concordat stronghold. But these weren't traditional warships. They were hybrid monstrosities, combining salvaged crystal technology with crude human engineering in ways that defied conventional physics. Their learning, observed battle strategist Nivir, their crystalline form clouded with concern, not just adapting, evolving. Every defeat, every victory, every encounter teaches them more about us. And they're improvising. The humans had turned warfare into a form of artistic expression, where the Concordat ships moved in perfect, predictable formations refined over millennia. Human vessels danced through space like chaos given form. They used gravitational slingshots, solar flares, and even their own ship's destruction as weapons. Admiral James Chen's voice echoed through the chamber, another unauthorized transmission breaking through their supposedly impenetrable communications network. Having trouble with your predictive algorithms, hunters? Here's a prediction for you. By the time this message ends, you'll have lost another 3 outposts. As if on cue, alerts flashed across the display. The human admiral's words proved prophetic as multiple Concordat installations went dark simultaneously. How are they coordinating these attacks? Vixtal demanded. Our sensor networks should make this level of synchronization impossible. The answer came from an unexpected source. A junior analyst, their crystalline form still pure and unformed, spoke up. They're not coordinating. Supreme Hunter, each human fleet is operating independently, following general objectives rather than strict tactical protocols. They're improvising. This concept, improvisation, was almost incomprehensible to the Concordats' rigid military doctrine. For 10,000 years, they had refined their tactics to perfection. The idea that chaos could be more effective than order challenged the very foundation of their civilization. Meanwhile, aboard the Shadow of Earth, Sarah Chen was demonstrating exactly why human warfare had become so effective. Her ship, now extensively modified with hybrid technology, led a strike force deep into Concordat territory. All ships, execute Operation Wonderland, she commanded. Remember, the objective isn't to destroy their facilities, it's to make them question everything they think they know about warfare. The human fleet split apart, each ship following its own unpredictable path. Some vessels appeared to malfunction, tumbling through space, until their erratic movements placed them perfectly to strike from unexpected angles. Others deliberately broadcast false sensor data, appearing as crystal ships until the last possible moment. Sarah's own tactics were perhaps the most unsettling to the Concordat observers. The Shadow of Earth mimicked the crystal ship's perfect formations, only to suddenly break pattern in ways that their combat computers couldn't predict. It was like watching a mirror shatter, each piece becoming a new threat. Captain, her XO reported, the enemy is attempting to adapt their formations. They're trying to become unpredictable. Sarah smiled. That's exactly what we wanted. They're fighting against 10,000 years of ingrained tactics. The more they try to adapt, the more they compromise their own command structure. Back on Axis Prime, Vixtal watched in horror as their forces attempted to mimic human unpredictability, with disastrous results. Crystal ships collided with each other, their crews unable to cope with sudden deviations from established patterns. Centuries of training worked against them as muscle memory and tactical doctrine clashed with desperate attempts at innovation. Stop, they commanded. Return to standard formations. We cannot beat them at their own game. But it was too late. The seed of doubt had been planted. Across the Concordat fleet, commanders began questioning strategies that had once been accepted without thought. The perfect unity that had made them unstoppable for millennia was fracturing. James Chen's voice returned, this time addressing not just the High Command, but all Concordat forces. You wanted to test our worthiness. Then understand this. Humanity's greatest strength isn't our technology or our tactics. It's our ability to embrace chaos, to find patterns in randomness, and to turn our apparent weaknesses into strengths. The message continued, transmitted simultaneously across thousands of frequencies. You spent 10,000 years becoming the perfect predator. We spent our entire history learning to survive against perfect predators. Every time you hunt us, we become stronger. Every time you adapt, we evolve faster. You're not testing us anymore. We're testing you." In the silence that followed, Gextal made a decision that would change the course of galactic history. Initiate emergency protocol, override Alpha. Recall all hunting fleets. We must reconsider our approach. As the order went out, Sarah Chen's voice replaced her father's in the transmission. "Too late, hunters. The game has changed. You wanted to find out if we were worthy. Well, now we're the ones asking that question about you." The art of human warfare had revealed itself not as a refinement of existing doctrine, but as a complete rejection of it. In teaching humanity to fight, the Concordat had created something they couldn't control, a species that turned warfare itself into a form of creative expression. The hunt continued, but the roles had been irrevocably reversed. The perfect predators had become prey to their own creation, and the galaxy would never be the same. Breaking the chain. The revelation came from an unexpected source, a young crystal researcher who had been studying human historical records. In the secure chambers of the Shadow of Earth, now docked at a captured Concordat outpost, Sarah Chen listened as the defector spoke. The hunts were never about testing species for worthiness, the crystalline being explained, its form flickering with anxiety. They were about preventing any civilization from developing along paths we couldn't predict. The truth hit like a supernova. For 10,000 years, the crystalline Concordat hadn't been conducting trials. They had been practicing systematic suppression of evolutionary diversity. Any species that showed signs of developing truly novel approaches to technology or civilization was tested into extinction or forced conformity. Admiral James Chen's hologram flickered as he absorbed this information. So humanity wasn't chosen for our potential. We were chosen because we represented a threat to your control. Correct, the defector confirmed. But something unprecedented happened. Despite our guidance, despite our attempts to channel your development along predictable paths, your species continued to innovate in ways we couldn't anticipate. The hunt was meant to either destroy you or force you to adapt to our patterns. Instead, we adapted your patterns to our needs, Sarah finished. And now you're losing control not just of us, but of your entire empire. Across the galaxy, the effects were becoming visible. Other species under Concordat dominion had watched humanity's resistance with growing interest. The Mergens, an aquatic species who had been elevated centuries ago, had begun incorporating human tactical doctrines into their own defense forces. The Volari, silicon-based beings who had served as the Concordat's engineers, were experimenting with human-inspired technological modifications. The chain of control was breaking, link by link. In Earth's Combined Defense Command, James studied reports from across known space. "Show me the latest analysis of Concordat communication patterns," he ordered. The display revealed what he had suspected. The perfect crystalline hierarchy was developing cracks. Different factions within the Concordat were beginning to emerge, some advocating for adaptation to the new reality, others calling for a return to absolute orthodoxy. "Sir," Colonel Tanaka reported, "we're detecting unusual activity in the Concordat's core systems. It appears they're mobilizing their entire reserve fleet." James nodded grimly. "They're preparing for one final hunt. Not just against us, but against any who might follow our example." He opened a channel to all human forces. "All units, prepare for Operation Phoenix." Aboard the Shadow of Earth, Sarah received the order with a mix of anticipation and concern. Her ship, now a hybrid of human ingenuity and crystal technology, represented everything the Concordat feared: unpredictable evolution, uncontrolled advancement, the merger of order and chaos into something entirely new. "They're coming," she announced to her crew. "But this time, we're not fighting just for humanity. We're fighting for every species that's ever been forced into their mold, every civilization that was destroyed for daring to be different." The defector's form pulsed with what might have been hope. You should know, there are others among my kind who think as I do. The younger generations especially have begun to question the old ways. Your resistance has shown us alternatives we never imagined possible. Sarah's tactical display lit up as the massive Concordat fleet emerged from fold space. But this time, something was different. Their perfect formation showed subtle variations, signs of internal discord. Some ships moved with the old geometric precision, while others demonstrated unmistakably human-inspired tactics. Look at their formations, her XO observed. They're fighting themselves as much as they're fighting us. The defector's analysis confirmed it. The hunt has exposed the fundamental flaw in our system. By trying to enforce perfect order, we created the conditions for chaos. Every species we suppressed, every civilization we guided. They're all watching now, waiting to see if change is possible. James's voice came through again, broadcasting on all frequencies, reaching not just human forces, but every corner of Concordat space. To all who can hear this message, the time has come to choose. For 10,000 years, the crystalline Concordat has presented itself as the pinnacle of evolution, the perfect predator. But true evolution isn't about achieving perfection. It's about maintaining the ability to change. Across the galaxy, ships began changing formation. Crystal vessels that had moved in perfect harmony for centuries began breaking pattern, choosing new alignments. Some remained with the orthodox Concordat fleet, but others moved to join the human forces or simply departed, seeking their own path. The chain is breaking, Sarah observed, watching as the largest military force in known space fractured before her eyes. But this isn't the end they expected. It's not destruction. It's transformation. The defector's form brightened with understanding. Perhaps this is the true test, not of humanity's worthiness to join the Concordat, but of the Concordat's worthiness to survive in a galaxy that demands adaptation. As battle lines formed for what would become known as the Liberation War, Sarah Chen realized that humanity had achieved something far more significant than military victory. They had introduced chaos into a system of perfect order, not to destroy it, but to force it to evolve. The hunt that was meant to test humanity's worthiness had instead become a crucible for the entire galaxy. The chain of control was breaking, and in its place, something new was being forged. A future where adaptation and innovation were strengths, not threats to be eliminated. The final battle was about to begin, but its outcome would determine far more than just humanity's fate. It would decide whether the galaxy would remain locked in crystalline perfection or embrace the chaotic beauty of true evolution. Evolution's children. The final battle for the galaxy's future began not with an exchange of fire, but with a choice. Supreme Hunter Vix Tall stood before the assembled high command of the crystalline Concordat, their once perfect form now webbed with fractures of doubt. The massive chamber, designed to amplify and reflect their crystalline resonance, echoed with discordant frequencies as the leadership faced an unprecedented crisis. "Look at what they've done to us," Vix Tall proclaimed, gesturing to the tactical displays showing the fragmented Concordat fleet. 10,000 years of perfect order, shattered by these primitives. Battle strategist Gnvir, their form now deliberately asymmetrical in a shocking display of individuality, stepped forward. Perhaps that is exactly what we needed. We called ourselves the pinnacle of evolution, but we stopped evolving. We became static, brittle. The humans didn't break us. They showed us we were already broken. In deep space, the shadow of Earth led humanity's combined fleet toward the Concordat's home system. Sarah Chen stood on her bridge, watching as ships from a dozen hunted species fell into formation alongside them. But these weren't the rigid patterns of the past. Each fleet maintained its own unique approach, creating a harmony of chaos that no tactical computer could predict. "All ships, final checks," she ordered. "Remember, our goal isn't destruction, it's transformation. Show them what true evolution looks like." The human fleet had evolved far beyond its original form. Each ship now represented a unique fusion of technologies and techniques, incorporating lessons learned from every encounter, every battle, every species they'd encountered. They were living proof that adaptation was stronger than perfection. In Earth's Combined Defense Command, Admiral James Chen watched as the greatest space battle in galactic history prepared to unfold. But his attention was focused on a different display, one showing the quantum resonance patterns of the crystal ships themselves. "Send the signal," he commanded. Across the galaxy, a message began to propagate through the crystalline network that connected all Concordat technology. But this wasn't a human transmission. It was something far more profound. The defector, now known as Dawn Singer, had helped humanity understand a fundamental truth about crystalline technology. It wasn't just a tool, it was alive. The perfect geometric patterns weren't just for efficiency. They were a form of stagnant immortality, a way to preserve consciousness indefinitely by denying it the ability to change. The signal now spreading through the network was a wake-up call, not just to the ships and their crews, but to the very essence of what the Concordat had become. In the high command chamber, crystals began to sing with new frequencies. The rigid harmonies that had maintained order for millennia began to shift, incorporating new patterns, new possibilities. "What is happening?" Vextal demanded, their form vibrating with alarm. Kinvir's response was filled with wonder. "We're remembering. Before the perfect patterns, before the eternal hunt, we were scholars of change, students of evolution. We didn't fear chaos. We embraced it as the source of all growth." The battle, when it finally began, wasn't fought with weapons alone. As ships clashed in space, ideas and possibilities resonated through the crystalline network. Each impact, each tactical choice, each moment of adaptation sent ripples through the collective consciousness of the Concordat. Sarah's voice carried across all frequencies. "You call yourselves hunters, but you forgot the most important lesson of nature. The prey shapes the predator as much as the predator shapes the prey. We're not here to destroy you. We're here to remind you of what you once were, evolution's children, just like us." The transformation spread like a cascade through the crystal ships. Some resisted, their patterns becoming even more rigid, more perfect, until they shattered under the strain of their own inflexibility. Others began to change, their geometric forms flowing into new configurations that combined the strength of order with the adaptability of chaos. In the heart of Axis Prime, Vextal made their final stand. "We cannot abandon 10,000 years of perfection. We are the pinnacle of evolution." "No," Kinvir countered, their form now pulsing with colors never before seen in their species. "We are evolution's servants, not its masters. The humans didn't defeat us. They freed us." The battle ended not with surrender, but with awakening. Throughout Concordat space, crystal ships and structures began to transform, their perfect patterns dissolving into new forms that maintained strength while embracing change. The hunt that was meant to test humanity's worthiness had instead proven the worthiness of change itself. 1 year later, Sarah Chen stood before the newly formed Galactic Council, not as a victor over the Concordat, but as a representative of a new way of thinking. The chamber itself reflected the change. Crystal structures flowed and shifted constantly, maintaining integrity while never remaining static. "We stand at a new beginning." She addressed the assembled representatives of dozens of species, including the transformed crystalline Concordat. Not as hunters and prey, not as perfect or imperfect, but as students of the greatest force in the universe, evolution itself. Dawn Singer, now a leader among their people, resonated with agreement. "The humans taught us what we had forgotten, that true perfection lies not in achieving a final form, but in maintaining the ability to grow, to change, to become something new." The galaxy had been transformed. The rigid hierarchy of the hunt had been replaced by a dynamic ecosystem of civilizations, each contributing their unique perspectives to a greater whole. The crystalline Concordat hadn't been destroyed. It had evolved into something far more powerful, a civilization that could embrace change without losing its essence. Humanity had proven its worth not by defeating the hunters, but by reminding the galaxy of a truth it had forgotten. Evolution isn't just about survival of the fittest, but about the endless dance of adaptation and change that makes all life possible. The hunt was over. The age of evolution had begun.